You're watching the ABC International coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, North America edition. I'm Anna Quee, coming to you from Las Vegas. We now know that COVID-19 attacks the lungs, but what does that mean for those who smoke? And is there something for people who smoke that they can do to lower their risk of this pandemic? Joining Eagle News this evening is Jana Palasigi, a manager from Orange County's 1866 New Law. Thank you for joining us, Jana.
Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you for having me.
So now is the time for people who smoke to quit. That's the logo, right? The motto. What research has there been for between COVID and smoking that you know of?
Sure. So as we know, and you mentioned earlier, COVID-19 is a virus that attacks the lungs and causes respiratory disease. So there's been a lot of research on people and patients that have contracted COVID-19 and whether or not they have smoked. So there's been recent publications in the Chinese Medical Journal from February of this year that found that patients in China who smoked and contracted COVID-19 actually had 14 times more likely of a probability to receive or to get a severe symptom from COVID-19, including death, as opposed to people who do not smoke. And there are other research studies, including the one that has the largest sample of COVID patients. They actually sampled 1,099 patients who have COVID-19, and they found that people who smoke or vape are 2.4 times more likely to be admitted into an ICU and have severe symptoms where they need mechanical ventilation than people who do not smoke or do not vape. So as we know, the pandemic is still going on, research is still going on, so we're learning more and more how smoking affects people who have COVID-19 or how smoking can affect people who do not have COVID-19 yet.
Okay, you answered my question. I was going to ask about those who vape, if they are also at the same risk. Yeah, you did mention that, and that's pretty significant. 2.4% end up in the ventilator. So, besides the obvious, what should people who smoke do, during this pandemic?
Right. Well, as we know, the pandemic has really forced people into different routines, different lifestyles, and because of this huge change, it causes a lot of stress. It might cause people to feel bored or even cause people to have anxiety, and a lot of which are triggers for people to smoke or even relapse. So we find ourselves in a really unique situation where not only are people already smoking, but now they're in a situation where they're triggered more to smoke. So there's nothing like this current pandemic to really urge us to quit smoking. And I just want to say, first of all, we're not here to force anyone to quit. I'm not the smoking police. I won't lose sleep if people don't quit. But if anyone made a resolution to quit smoking, in January or have ever thought about quitting, and in actuality, out of all the people who smoke, there's actually 70% of those people who smoke want to quit, right? A lot of people want to quit. They just don't know how to. So for the people who have that desire, especially with this current pandemic going on where we want to make our lungs stronger, where we want to be our healthiest in order to combat this virus, now is the time to really make that commitment and really set a quit date for quitting. So that's what people who have thought about quitting before should do now.
Yeah, that's very true. And you mentioned earlier that people, especially right now with the stay-at-home mandates everywhere, they're having to stay home. They're going through a lot more stress, and they're kind of in a 2020, right? Because they smoke to relieve stress, but at the same time, it's bad for them. So tell me, what is one of the first important step for smokers, for people who smoke to do if they're trying to quit?
That's a great question. So besides making a commitment to want to quit smoking, what they really need to do is find their reason for quitting. Because as we know, a lot of people know that we shouldn't smoke, yet a lot of people continue to do so. However, if there's a reason that really motivates someone to quit that is stronger than maybe that immediate gratification they receive from smoking, that's going to really help them through the quitting process. So for example, I actually helped one of my friends quit recently. And the reason why she wanted to quit is because she wanted to be a good role model for her daughter, right? she's been smoking since she was 15 years old, and she kind of switched to vape, but still she didn't like how she had to hide all the time from her family. So her strongest reason to quit was so that she could be around her daughter when she gets older and be there physically when her daughter eventually marries the love of her life. So that very first step, besides making a commitment, is really finding your reasons why you personally want to quit is really important in this process.
Then also just from reading, how important is it to also pick a date, to start the way to quit smoking? Is that true? That it is also important not only to find the reason, but also to actually set a date.
And I'm so glad you asked that question, because today is Monday, and Monday is actually one of the best days to quit smoking. It's actually the day that people most Google search how to quit smoking. So even though you might want to pick like a significant day, like a birthday or anniversary to help you remember, it is important more so to just write down the date and really make that commitment in writing to let yourself know and to remind yourself that you're going to quit. Because a lot of people kind of have it in the back of their minds, right? They're like, oh, I'll quit later. I can quit whenever I want. And because they don't write it down, it never comes into fruition. That is why it's so important that we write it down and we put it somewhere, that date, where we can see every day, maybe on our refrigerator, maybe in our car, maybe as a screensaver in our phone, so that we are remembered of why it is that we want to quit and the date that we quit.
That's a really good idea. I guess just with anything, if we're trying to reach a goal, writing it down, putting it, visually where we can always see it would help. Now with your the 1866 program, are you doing any kind of outreach to people, or are you just waiting for people to call?
Right, so that's a good question. So 1866 New Lung is Orange County's free quit smoking service. We provide free quit smoking services to youth and adults, and these services are in English, Spanish, Vietnamese, Korean, and Farsi. And the reason why it's in those languages is because those are the populations, specifically in Orange County, that have the highest smoking prevalence. So we want to make sure that we have language capabilities that can assist the people who smoke the most. So we have different outreaching strategies we do. We're in social media, we have a website, but more particularly, we have a telephone campaign. So maybe some people want to quit smoking and they don't know how, or they don't know if there are other resources available. We actually are able to do telephone counseling so people can quit from the comfort of their own homes. And what's awesome about our program too is it's absolutely free, no insurance, no nothing necessary, and we mail the nicotine patches directly to the residents. So there won't be any contact with us. We'll just be there on the phone, and once they complete the services, they'll receive the nicotine patches. So our outreaching has been mostly in media and emails, and mostly word of mouth, in order for people to know that our services are available.
That's really great. As far as resources, you mentioned you're actually mailing out free nicotine patches, because that's one of the hurdles. I think one of the challenges for those who want to quit is that they can't afford to buy the nicotine patches. Are you seeing them providing that through the whole process, or how does that work?
Right. So since our funding is very limited and we provide services to over 3,000 people every year in Orange County, the most that we're able to provide is a 2-week supply of nicotine patches, which is about $54. So yes, they are very expensive, and we give them Nicoderm CQ brand. But what people don't realize is once they quit smoking, they're saving all that money from not smoking, and they could use that for their nicotine patches. So we kind of give them a jump start with the free supply, and once they continue to quit, they could use that saved money in order to supplement the nicotine patches that they might need more.
Probably be a fun thing to show them, like a mathematical.
We do. We actually have, yes, we have a reward sheet in our curriculum. Yeah, that calculates how much someone spends every year, after 10 years, after 20 years. And you'd be surprised, Anna, it is thousands and thousands of dollars. You could buy houses with this amount of money, and people never sit down to actually calculate how much they spend on cigarettes, especially in California where it's taxed so much. New York has such high taxes for cigarettes. Hawaii, it's so expensive to smoke nowadays.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that amount alone will encourage somebody, right, to motivate somebody to quit smoking. Now, you mentioned that 1866 New Lung is specific to your region. Is there a national hotline that people can access, since we are, being watched by
Yeah.
other people?
Mm-hmm. Well, ours is in our county, like I mentioned. For California, there's a 1-800-NO-BUTS, and that's the California Smokers Helpline. But nationally, there's smokefree.gov. They have a lot of different resources on their website that can help people quit smoking.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else about your program that you'd like to share with us?
Sure. So since we're here, on Eagle News, we wanted to provide a promotion for anyone, even if you're not in Orange County, to receive some kind of free help material to quit smoking. So if you go to our website, 1-866-NEW-LUNG.com, and you contact us, just give them the code. The code is Eagle News. And if you send us that code and contact us on our website, we will send the free ebook on how to quit smoking or quit vaping.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, Jana. Thank you so much. You've shared so much helpful information. And hopefully those who are watching, even if you don't smoke yourself, share it with someone you know that can benefit from that. Thank you again, Jana.
Thank you so much, Anna.
Coming up,